Hey everyone, my name is Neil Karski and I'm the CEO of Patient Engine, a seven-figure digital marketing, lead conversion, and coaching agency for high-ticket aesthetics providers. And I would like to personally welcome you to the Aesthetics Millionaires show, where we sit down with industry entrepreneurs to talk about their personal journeys and discuss proven growth strategies. My genuine hope is that through this podcast, we can create more success stories in this industry and help more business owners scale past their competition. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have another amazing episode of Aesthetics Millionaires Show. Today I'm joined by Nick Tvrdik. He is the founder and CEO of ARIA Integrative Health in Colorado. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you, Neil. I'm happy to be here. Nick, how did you get into, tell us a little bit more about your entrepreneurship journey, some of the roots of your of that chapter of your life, and how it started. How did you get into wellness and aesthetics? Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting story. So my background is really in marketing and sales. So we started ARIA Integrative Health 14 and a half years ago. We've treated 17,000 patients at this point in time. But before all that happened, my degree's in marketing and I have a background in sales. And I was actually working at a television station in Denver, Colorado, selling ad space. And by the way, if you can sell time or space, you can sell anything. But I was there and I learned how to make a phone ring for a business, and I was working for the man. So I'm sure a lot of the doctors out there that listen to this, they can attest to being chained down to the insurance-based medicine side of things. And I felt kind of the same way because I was working for a giant billionaire conglomerate, McGraw-Hill. And the amount of red tape and the bureaucracy just drove me nuts. So I was constantly coming to my wife, Stephanie. She's substantially smarter and better looking than I am. And I was trying to pitch business ideas, being like, hey, what about this business idea? Because I'm an entrepreneur through and through at heart. We own multiple businesses. And she would very intelligently tell me I'm an idiot. And then one day, my best friend, who's a chiropractor actually, he's like, hey, have you ever heard of this particular device? And I said, I have. I'm making a client's phone ring off the hook with it. He's like, why don't you do that? So I'm like, that's interesting, because my passion is in functional medicine and the aesthetic side of things. And I go to Stephanie, rolled it around my head. I pitched her that evening, and she didn't shoot me down, which was really interesting. So I was like, okay, this is good. She's like, yeah, let me sleep on that one. She was in real estate at the time. Her background's also in sales. And 2 days later, she had a bad day at work. Her bosses were complete assholes. And come home and she says, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. So to make a long story short, I emptied my 401k. She emptied her 401k. We bought this device. We rented the space. We did in all the decorating and everything, and we were opening the doors, and we had $25,000 left over after doing all that, and we spent it all month one on advertising. Nick, what device did you guys get? So it's funny. It's a bit of a defunct device out there, and I'm not trying to crap on anybody's technology, but in terms of what's out here now, it's sitting in our basement. So it was the Zerona laser. Now, this whole move into the wellness and aesthetics space has changed dramatically. So we didn't know this at the time, but we were kind of pioneers of bridging that gap. So we got this machine, but we obviously did our due diligence, dove into all the science and what's happening. We're like, all right, how can we put together a program around this machine to maximize its output and kind of take patients being non-compliant out of the equation for efficacy. So we did an entire cleanse, supplementation. We had a big customized diet program, exercise program, sauna protocol. So we made sure that we put this entire functional support built around what that particular laser was doing. And we saw substantially better results than everybody. And that's kind of been the MO of our entire business,
in how we approach every single machine is, okay, what is this machine doing physiologically? How can we maximize that piece of the pie so that we're looking at how we can support the body to get more predictable and reproducible outcomes, and we've done that from the very beginning because we do full functional medicine in the clinic as well, everything from bioidentical hormone optimization, gut microbiome, mapping and optimization, functional cardiology. We're deep down the rabbit holes. We have 25 different machines at this point in time, Neil, so we're super diverse, and it's been a wild ride.
Cool. I talk a lot about wellness and aesthetics merging and more people looking for a one-stop shop and experience for multiple pain points. I think the lines are getting blurred a lot in our industry, and I think people are taking a little bit more of a holistic approach. So it seems like this is the business model you're embodying. I do still believe, and I talk about this very openly, that people value how they look more than how they feel for the most part. I know that if you're if a high-performing entrepreneur, maybe your mindset's a little bit different, but I think the general populace, in my opinion, values that first. I mean, when you look better, you also feel better, psychologically at least. But I think that, you know, a lot of people come to us and they're like, can you do our wellness marketing? And we are an aesthetics, like I own an aesthetics agency, because I tell people, hey, listen, your cost per acquisition for aesthetics is going to be a lot lower. Then you can cross-sell them into wellness. But everybody needs wellness stuff these days. So back to your story. So month one, you opened.
Hold on, before you move on, I want to echo what you just said. So we started out on the aesthetic side and had the wellness piece around it. A year and a half in is when we really started to bring the full functional med in and a whole lot of other healing things. Our entire business has been built exactly what you just said. So now we have tons of internal referrals, and obviously we still advertise the wellness side of things and do well with it. But it hits so much harder on the marketing and advertising side of things on the aesthetics. The problem is that when people just try and focus on pain, because there's three things that there's plenty of in this world: fat, pain, and wrinkles. And you can advertise all three of those independently, but without question, the aesthetic side drives people in. But then if you're doing this appropriately and you're doing a consultation with these patients and somebody hasn't been able to lose the fat that's on their body for, 12 years, there's something going on, right? Diet, exercise, all of that. There's a whole functional and the wellness side of things. But what got them in the door is the aesthetics marketing. So I just wanted to make sure that all the listeners heard what Neil just said, and it is very real.
Yeah. But don't also, yeah. And I appreciate what you said that, to me, it's, you typically advertise with an offer, right? And you get people in the door. And I think the worst salespeople or whoever's doing the consultation, they aren't able to get somebody away from just that one singular pain point or the offer in itself. And the best ones are able to really dive into the roots, into multiple pain points, into really understanding a person's situation. And in our industry, being that there's a million providers these days, the best and most successful practices have consultants who really, really, really want to help people and address, the holistic journey. And this is really how you're going to make the most money. Would you agree?
Yeah, without question. I mean, it's funny when I've done well over 9,000 aesthetic consultations in this space, and I still do the majority of our consults. I love sitting down with patients and solving problems, but the patient doesn't know what they need. It's up to us sitting down as the expert. They know they have a problem, And now they're on Google being like, oh, I have this fat I can't get rid of with diet or exercise, or I have this hyperpigmentation, or I'm going to be at a big event in a month and a half. Oh my gosh, what do I do? And now they're Googling. So then they see something that they think might fit that hole to help them look better, but they have no clue. So it's our job to really start to peel apart. They come with, here's the problem, here's what I'm trying to accomplish, and now we got to start to really peel apart what's going on. How long has this bothered you? Get into their pain points, and get into the real root of their problem. And that can be a combination of the wellness side, but a lot of times on the aesthetic side, I mean, there's just so much BS out there. It's pretty wild. So educating the patient on, all right, here's the plan based upon after we fully facial analyzed what you have going on your skin, or we did a full body assessment on exactly what you're trying to accomplish. Let's start peeling apart what the steps are going to be, because very rarely, if ever, is it what they think they need. If that makes sense. And it's not that we're selling more. It's just, hey, let's actually get to the root of, we have to do this, we have to do this. If we just treat that area, if we just do that particular device, it's not going to solve what we just went over, looking at the facial analyzation or the body composition of exactly what you're telling me you need. Does that make sense? And then we put together that more comprehensive solution, which ends up being just better for the patient at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree.
How do you man, I want to go into so many different angles, because of your experience doing consultations. This is the most critical role in this business by far. And I know you come from a sales and marketing background. That's my background as well, along with consulting. I have 3 locations of my own, and I've been very adamant about finding the right staff, training them accordingly, because they're the ones that are really dictating the success, the financial success, really, of these clinics. So let's talk about bringing your sales and marketing background into this industry. And then I want you to dive into that month 1 where you said, hey, we didn't have a lot of funds left, or we had 25,000 or whatever it was, and we dumped that into marketing because we almost had to, right? So however you want to address these questions, I'm definitely very curious.
Yeah. So when we first started, I had a full game plan. So I came from TV background specifically, and I think TV is very powerful. We have a diverse marketing and advertising plan now that we execute well. But when I say that, we started out with doing those more long form infomercial style, because at the time, and this is 2011, at the time that was still driving tons. So we jumped on, and we were not set up or prepared for what happened. So we jumped on TV, had our doc do the whole pitch. We put our offering out there. It was interesting. It was intriguing, because you always have to leave kind of that dangle of what was that we just talked about. And then we had the call to action, and we had 25 phone calls in 10 minutes. And we're like, whoa, this is huge. And we tried to handle all those calls. And this is a super small business in space. At the time, we've obviously grown quite a bit from then. But when I say that, we immediately that week called a call center. We had to have a call center and direct calls directly to that, gave them access to our booking software, gave them a very particular script so then they can book the initial consult, and went from there. So 25,000 might not sound like that much right now, but it was quite a bit of a big 1 month advertising back in 2011, and we're spending a lot more than that right now, because I love getting new people in the door at all times. One thing that I always tell people, if you're not wasting some money on marketing or advertising, you're not doing it right. Because if you're spending too little in an arena where you find that it's working, let's say it's social media, TV, radio, whatever, but it starts hitting, right? You're at 4, 5, 6x ROI in every dollar that you're spending. And you're like, awesome, we're going to let this ride. You have to spend more money. If you find something that's hitting and then you don't turn it up to find where that point of diminishing returns is, that's wasted money, because if you're getting 4, 5, 6x ROI and you don't push that to see how far you can have that particular avenue go, you're wasting money. But then if you don't overspend over that point of diminishing returns, then we don't know where that point is, and then you're wasting money there. So it's a uncomfortable truth in this space and just business in general, is we always have to be throwing shit against the wall. And when we do that, now we have to find something, boom, push it to that point. But you always have to be finding that next level, because there's always some drop off after the audience sees it so many times. You need new creative, you need new technology, you need new whatever it is to keep that hype going. And then on the consulting side, I mean, the number one most important person in your clinic, sorry doctors, is who's asking for money. And that can be you, but a lot of times it is not. Second most important person in your clinic who's collecting money. And both of those people must be financially stable. So there's this whole thought process and the psyche in the background of how this really needs to be approached and done right. And like you, Neil, we do full consulting. We own a company called Practice Empowered, where we fully hold and guide people through this process. But I mean, there's multiple ways to really see success in this place, but there are absolute, hands down, things that people must do, and you have to have a good person in sales on the team, and they have to be comfortable with asking for large sums of money. Otherwise, you're doing your patients a disservice. The biggest issue in aesthetics, hands down, is under treatment. And in my opinion, it's because people are scared to ask for money. So if you have somebody that can go in, assess the needs, get to the root cause, get to the pain, educate the patient properly, and walk them through this whole piece, I mean, that's gold.
Wow. I feel like I'm listening to myself echo 1,000 times. Yeah, 1,000%. I think most people, a lot, and it's because the aesthetics profession is kind of lumped into medical and healthcare in some ways, that we're going through this massive transition from insurance-based to cash-based, and people are realizing, hey, people have other options. One, it is a competitive space. Two, just because you want to help somebody doesn't mean they're going to just pull out their wallet and buy from you, right? You have to do your homework. You have to do your due diligence. You have to have the right initial visit process. Like, the consultation has to be below surface level. You can't just throw a bunch of technical jargon at somebody and expect them to say, oh, this is great. You actually have to understand each and every single human being, because human beings are predictable. There's cross-tabulations and data that can describe and generalize populations, but every single human being has specific pain points and wants, but most importantly, needs, right?
Yeah. That's sales, right? I mean, we're solving problems. If you get to the point where you have somebody sitting down in front of you and you've done all the detail work and all the patient experience work, from the phones, from your ad, it all matches your culture, what your why is, all of that kind of stuff. It took so much for you to get that person sitting down in front of you. And then you sit down and you're like, okay, how can I help? And they say, it's this texture on my face. And we're like, let me tell you about this new microablative radio frequency technology. Or you start solving a problem right away, you're not going to sell a thing. Decision making is not done where the brain tries to protect it, which is data and stats. So your frontal cortex is your crocodilian brain, right? It is to really protect the body and zero decision making is done there. You have to get to the emotional response, and it's by asking questions. It's about really starting to peel it apart, like you just said, Neil, getting to the root cause and go below the surface, because it's, especially in medicine and doctors, and once again, I don't want any MDs or nurse practitioners or PAs to take offense to this, but this is not diagnosis prescription. This is hand-holding, educating, and helping really understand what the patient in front of you is trying to accomplish, and then be educated enough once you get to that point where you really get it and how far we need to go. Now it becomes to, all right, here's the solution. Here's what I'm hearing you tell me where we need to go. Here's the timeline based upon what where we need to get you there. And now we start putting together that solution, because that's sales. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're selling a car or aesthetics, or, we're treating somebody's knee and getting them out of a wheelchair or a cane or things like that. It's all the same thing. And unfortunately, especially in medicine, sales has this terrible connotation. You're selling all the time. You're selling all the time, no matter what you're doing. It's just, this is about hand-holding and really guiding people down the right path, which takes some skill. It takes some patience. It takes asking questions to get to that root and get under the surface so we can start to put together that solution.
Yeah. How much should a business, and maybe you can dive into certain sizes or stages, because you've been there, you've started at zero. How much should a business be spending on marketing? Yeah, obviously, I'm a huge paid ads advocate. That's how I've helped over 1,000 people with paid ads. I've opened my own spas and was able to get people in the door the day that we were opened with paid advertising. And I know there's other forms of marketing, ones that may require more time than money.
Yeah.
But how much should a business be spending based on your experience as somebody who's gone from zero to having a healthy 7-figure integrative clinic?
Yeah. So I get this question all the time, and what I'm about to say might sound a bit aggressive, but the number that I'm saying is specific for people that are trying to grow. If you're in the growth phase, we recommend 15 to 22%-ish of your monthly revenue you should be spent on lead gen. Now, this is important, because if you don't have lead conversion set up in place, and you don't have somebody that can sit down and do the consultation, and you don't have the patient flow and the systems in place, it doesn't matter how much rain doesn't matter how much you make it rain. If your gutters aren't in place and your shed system isn't in place, so you can actually guide the water where it needs to go. So there's some steps that people need to think about, at least, and I'm more than willing to help these listeners, and same with you, Neil. But I like to be aggressive in the growth stage, and it makes some people uncomfortable. And then once you get in and you're jamming and you're into great ROI, and you figured out exactly which media is going to be best for you, what resonates the best with what your message is, what your why is, then over time it can start to fall down. But you need to, at very base minimum, even when you're jamming and you have a healthy membership and loyalty program put into place, should be spending 10% per month minimum, in my opinion, in this space, because it is competitive, it is aggressive, and as long as you have a unique offering and state-of-the-art tech, and you're looking at things differently, there's always people out there to hit. And I want everybody that's listening to really understand. I mean, this data is a bit old. I think the number's gone up, but as of like 4 years ago, only 8.5% of the U.S. population has spent money on aesthetic services. Okay, so we're trying to reach out to 91.5%, guys. So if you turn that funnel off because you're frustrated, right? I worked with this company; they're absolute crooks. By the way, some of the biggest crooks in the world are advertising marketing agencies in this space specifically. So, but you have to pick yourself back up. You have to get back after it. But in that growth phase, I like that 15 to 22%. But there's things that they have to also pay attention to in lead conversion, how you do a consult, patient flow, what's your follow-up process. Let's say somebody comes in thinking they're going to spend $500 on Botox, and what they really need is, a $6,500 full face treatment. They're like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. I actually have to talk to my wife or husband about that. What's your follow-up protocol? What do you send them? Did you give them a deadline? There's all these different pieces that you have to think about when you're advertising. But 15 to 22%, that was an extremely long-winded answer to your question, Neil.
No, I think the context is necessary. Here's another answer to that question that I think you're gonna really resonate with. I ask as somebody who's a growth partner for a lot of 200 plus practices in the U.S. I ask people, especially prospects, I ask them because I've gotten to a point where unrealistic expectations are not something I want to deal with. And I want to set realistic expectations because digital advertising has gotten more expensive, and that 15 to 22% is now more because it is more expensive to advertise because everybody's doing it in our market. So the question I usually ask is, hey, you're doing $50K a month. You want to get to $100K. Okay. You want to double. To add 50,000, how much are you willing to invest? Right? Because I want to understand somebody's acumen, or maybe I need to educate somebody and help them understand. Like, if they tell me, hey, I'm willing to invest 5 to get to 50, have I seen it? I have seen it. I've seen it in my own practices. Is it common? It's not common. I think if everybody was getting 10x on marketing, we'd all be billionaires, right? Or we'd all be broke, So it's not common, right? So I want people to understand, and I think people who come from healthcare and medical, they don't have that education, right? Because for them it was zero. And a massive upside, right? Because they never had to market. Nowadays, how many Nick? I mean, you're in Denver. Holy shit! How many med spas are in Denver?
Oh, man,
1,000?
Oh yeah. Well, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy how saturated this market is, and I mean, we do great. And if for those that are listening, you almost have to put some blinders on and just put your head down and hustle. Because if you get overwhelmed by, this person down the street bought the same machine that I have, or this person down the street, get out there, outwork them, outmarket them, out advertise them, have your systems in place, and do it. Because if you throw yourself into all that noise of what's around you and what other people are doing, I mean, obviously, yes, you have to have an idea of what price comparisons are to a degree around your clinic or whatever it is. But when you're marketing, I mean, you have to do this. You have to do it, and it can be painful. It's not always easy. We've had obviously ups and downs. We took off like a rocket ship and then made mistakes and figured them out, and made mistakes, figured those out. So this what we figured out in the last almost 15 years was not a pain-free process. And that's why we do consulting. And same with you, Neil. We decided like 5 years ago, we were at a fork in the road. Do we want more locations, or do we want a franchise? And we molded around, and we decided, you know what, let's just build a giant mothership and teach instead, because it's been super rewarding, and we have almost a compounding interest effect on how we can help people. If I teach a clinic in Baton Rouge our processes, how we do it, give access to our vendors, all of that, we get a much more compounding interest effect of how many patients' lives we can affect. And it's been super, super rewarding. But on the marketing side, you have to check yourself and give yourself realistic expectations, because the answer that you just gave, I mean, they're asking for a 10x response on that. it can happen, like you said, but when something like that happens, it's typically because something, for some miraculous reason, went viral, or you got somebody in there that went, and she's the, queen of her entire city, and she starts talking about you, and that $1 that you spend is now driving referral based upon this, heard you on the radio, and you had this testimonial that just absolutely resonated with people that you really can't always duplicate. You're going to hit sometimes where still we'll jump on TV and we'll do an interview style type of ad, and we'll get 25 calls, and that it's not normal. Our ROI on television is great. It isn't for everybody across the country, but it depends on what it is. But yes, having realistic expectations, which you don't really know until you try. And when you're giving people leads and then you listen to their phone calls and they're not taking control of the call, they don't know how to really drive people into seats as opposed to just answering the phone, and then they think their job is to answer questions. The entire point of your front desk staff is to book consults, and there's more to it than just the marketing and advertising side to really fix those problems.
Yeah, I mean, so to fill you, so what we've done with my company is we actually eliminated that. So we've built that US-based appointment closing team. So we're able to handle that piece for our clients, because
nice.
3 to 4 years ago, I just realized that unless you do have a really strong front desk, like you said, who's well trained, who's got an objective to not only do inbound and outbound lead conversion, it's not going to be successful. The campaign's not going to be successful. But then going down the ladder, the consultations, right? People always ask us, like, what is my ROI going to be? And I can tell them, hey, listen, I think the cost per acquisition is going to be X. But the ROI, here's what I see with some of my clients, and here's what I see with some of my other clients. Like, it's really going to depend on you. Because there's so many different variables, right? Like we talked about, who's doing the consultations? Are they good at selling? Are you guys good at retention? Are you good at cross-selling? Are you good at getting referrals? Are you actually good at getting your patients really good results? Those are variables, right? So it's really hard to say. We're just taking educated guesses based on the data we already have, but every single client is different. Every single market is different. Every single staff is different. So there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. And that's awesome that you offer that service, because we actually have an offsite person for all of our specifically social media lead conversion. We can handle website, PPC, and TV internally, but just how fast you have to get to a lead, speed to lead, and conversion and things like that. We have a lady, she's actually in North Carolina, that handles all of my calls, where she's just eating plastic all day long. So she's making 150 phone calls a day, some follow-up, obviously prioritizing the new leads coming in. We have an entire phone tree automated set up so that speed to lead is all done. But we had to figure that out, where if somebody can work with you, Neil, and have that done automatically, that's a huge benefit.
Yeah. So walk us through a little bit about your journey from, I think it was, you said 4 years ago, you guys opened, you spent a lot of money on ads. Like, how did you, and then you said you had a pretty good game plan. And I think that's really important because you kind of knew what you wanted to do, how you wanted to do it, what it was going to cost you. But walk us through like some of like the initial stages where you went from like 0 to 20 to 50 to 100 plus into that 7-figure ballpark. Like, walk us through your services, like some of the journey that you've gone through, some of the bigger lessons there as well, because a lot of times we discount the journey and those obstacles we faced in the beginning that helped us to get to where we are today.
Yeah. I think everybody should read a book called Mindset. It will be worth their time, because the biggest lessons just in life in general, I'm not trying to get philosophical with everybody. The biggest lessons and the greatest lessons you'll ever learn is through pain and failure. So when we started out, we had the functional solutions built around this body contouring device to make sure that they saw results and got healthier. Everybody got healthier that came in. Referrals were great and all that. We stuck with that same program for about 4 or 5 years, and we started sputtering a little bit. We didn't have anything new, energy, and something exciting. So when I talk about advertising, I'm a big believer. It has to be exciting. You have to build intrigue, and you have to have a call to action. Just those 3 basic things. How you do that can change. So we are like, all right, we have to inject something into this whole process. Now, in those 4 or 5 years, we started getting into the wellness side. We had a massage, we had acupuncture. We were much more on the holistic side of things, but the margins aren't there. Yes, we're helping people feel better, but where all of our margins are in this space is in energy-based device treatments. So then we bought another device in 2015 that was actually a facial device. And we plugged it into our existing systems and we, boom, exploded. It added an additional $500,000 of revenue onto that year just from that one machine. We're like, oh, okay. So injecting something new that's solving a problem that people don't really know that much about and then screaming it from the rooftops, it seems to be like that works. So then in 2016, we bought another machine that was actually in the body contouring device, plugged it into the thing, boom, added another $600,000 to our year, and we were able to maintain what that other machine was doing the year before. This is in 2016. This industry was still in its infancy. And then the next year, we bought another device. Same thing happened. So the way our business has always been in terms of advertising and marketing is about solving needs with best-in-class available technology so that we can really hold the patient's hands and educate them on, hey, this is why we upgraded to this. It's really solving that problem. This is also why we have 25 machines, Neil. So I might have a problem.
Can you? Yeah, you do. You definitely have a problem, right? You should have bought some nice cars instead. But can you caution our audience around purchasing strategy and decision making for devices as well? Because I do feel like it's a double-edged sword. It can be a double-edged sword, right? You buy devices because you think they're going to bring people, but it's how you really market those devices or the pain points they solve rather that gets you those people. But so you want to comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, and I'm going to take a step back and get a little bit more long-term strategic to answer that question. Is so many people, when we're doing consulting or I'm sitting down with them doing a one-on-one at one of the conferences I'm speaking at or things like that, so many people cannot see the forest through the trees. So really understanding, what are you trying to build? What is your end goal with this business? And what do you foresee? What is your dream? And I know this is more high level than maybe you want to get initially, but you have to understand where you're trying to build towards. And then based upon that, so let's say you want to have the most comprehensive facial aesthetics spa in your small town. And then somebody approaches you with this generic piece of machinery that might fit into where you're comfortable just paying cash for this piece of machinery, whatever it is, but it does not align with the force that you want to build. You need to stay away and keep your eyes on the prize. So I'm a big believer in not screwing around with all the crap that's out there. There's so much bad technology. I'm a big believer in investing with quality companies that are truly solving problems in the absolute best way possible. Don't invest in a technology that's been there for 12, 15 years, unless straight out of the gates you want to have a wide offering. But I would argue too, it's better to have something that is intriguing, absolute best in class, and ride it and then keep buying that. Now, this is specifically in the case of I want to have the absolute best in class med spa facial aesthetics type of situation. If you're like, hey, you know what? I want to build a business where I don't need to be the best. I don't need to have the best. I want to serve a different type of population. Then build that. It's understanding where you're trying to go from the very beginning or what your dreams are. And if you do not make purchases in the energy-based device side, machines, technology, whatever it is, that does not align with that, you're missing, and it's easy to do. It is easy to get distracted in business because there's so much happening all the time. We have quite a few pieces of technology, but if somebody walks into my clinic and I'm doing a consultation with a skin type 5 with melasma, I have an entire perfect protocol to treat every single skin condition that walks through our door. That's what I wanted to do. And we built it. It cost us a lot of money to do that, but that's what we wanted to do. So figure out really what you're trying to do as a business, what your goals are, and start building towards it. And it's going to be making some pretty substantial investments, but not all the time. Not all the time. It depends on what you want.
And you can also start lean. You can also start lean and then scale up from there. Like you said, hey, I want to solve maybe one pain point, get really good at it, get traction, get money in the bank, solve another pain point, et cetera. Because you didn't start out as a 20-plus device integrative wellness and aesthetics clinic. You kind of said, hey, like I'm going to solve, maybe body contouring first. Yep. Then I'm going to add face. Then I'm going to look into some of the other things that affect those areas as well.
Get good at what you want to be good at and expand. And otherwise you can lose focus.
Yeah. So I know we talked about ARIA Integrative Health and what you're doing there. You want to touch a little bit more on your consulting side and do a little plug for that side of your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just so you know, Neil, that's not why I came on, but thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. If I can help people, I want to. So the business is called Practice Empowered. And really what we do is it's more of a boot camp than anything, is you actually come out to us. And I think this is important. People, a lot of times to learn, have to get out of their comfort zone. So we have a well-oiled machine here. So you come out to us for 2 days and you actually see how the business should work. This is how the patient flow should work and why. This is how it plays into your patient's headspace and the psychological impact along with that entire process. And we go step by step on lead generation, lead conversion, proper patient flow. Here's how you do a consultation. And we break down the specific, here's how you do a consult for your particular devices that you have. So we give you the talking points, where in this space is it missing or hitting that missing piece, what gets people excited about it, then how you do pictures, money, follow-up. It's really like getting a franchise in a box without having to give me royalties ongoing. So then we give you that whole thing, and then they get us for 6 months afterwards. Obviously, they can continue with that, but this is meant to be hey, here's a game plan. You get all of our paperwork, you get all of our vendors, you get all of the constant education that we're putting out, and you take it and run with it. So thank you for letting me talk about that, but it's been very, very rewarding for Stephanie and I to really dive in, hold these people's hands, hold these clinic owners' hands, and guide them to what's worked well for us, because it works across the country. There's things that work in every single aspect of it, and that's what we teach. And then you got to figure out what's going to work best for you, because everybody's a little bit different. What works in Denver, Colorado, where like with M-Sculpt Neo, where we do a ton of M-Sculpt Neo. We've been top 10 globally for treatments performed with that machine. We're number 1 in the country for Exion, things like that. It's a super saturated market. What works for me here in Denver as opposed to, some small town in Indiana, we just got to figure that out. And but the processes in place in the business are the same.
Spend more money on paid ads.
Yeah.
But spend it. I want to caution my own statement because we talked a lot about it, about the lead conversion, about everything from there. Everything flows from there. Cool. A couple just really, if you've seen my show, I ask a lot of just outrageous questions that are totally irrelevant to this show. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a couple of those. So what is your pet peeve, Nick?
Oh, well, I have a 12-year-old and an 11-year-old. So are we going personal or are we going business?
Yeah. Whatever you want.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good question. So probably biggest pet peeve, and this is going to have nothing to do with business. And I have quite a bit of a drive, and I've done this to myself to get to work every day. When we first opened our business, we lived across the highway. So we went from a 5-minute walk to our clinic, and then we had our daughter, and then got pregnant again, moved out to the suburbs, and then that got congested. So then we bought some land and built a house, and now we have a drive. People that drive in the left lane, Neil, that aren't passing, absolutely frickin' drive me insane. Like, it absolutely drives me nuts. I'm a pretty even-keeled person in general and pretty easygoing. But when you are, it's almost like it's intentional. It's like they're trying to slow everybody else down. So pet peeve, people that drive in the left lane that aren't passing and just slowing down the entire flow of traffic drive me insane.
Favorite travel destination that you would want to come back to every single year for the rest of your life?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've been to 25 countries. Man, that's a hard question.
I know it is. I hate favorite questions, but I like asking them.
I really liked Copenhagen. I've only been there. I've been there twice. But I just love the culture, the energy, how healthy everybody is, the coffee shops. Copenhagen's pretty amazing place. It's very good escape from the intensity of what it is to be an American all the time and just existing and chilling and drinking some coffee.
Yeah. I was in Europe for 6 weeks this summer. My family's from Poland, and it is definitely a different way of living over there. Where can people find you?
What's your answer to that question?
Oh, man. I hate favorite questions because then I feel like you just like, everything else becomes secondary to that.
Yeah,
and my favorite beach is Tulum. I've just got back from Tulum, so I love it. I go there pretty often, and I feel very free there. And then for mountains, I would say Slovakia is amazing on the other side of Poland, and I love going there every year. Nick, where can people find you if they want to connect and network with you, or if they want to learn more about your practice or the consulting you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually in the process of rebuilding a few websites right now. But if you want to get a hold of me, reach out to just my direct Instagram handle. It's at Nick Tvrdik. It's nothing too special because of my Czech last name. There aren't too many of us out there. So Nick Tvrdik on Instagram, and shoot me a private message, and I'd be love to help you, guide you where you need to go, even if it's not with us. I mean, there's definitely spaces where other people might be better to help, but we're truly trying to help because this is such a foreign space for so many people getting into this business, or even if you're into this business, just getting more efficient in your processes. I'd love to help or guide you down whatever path I truly feel is going to be best for you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Nick. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Neil. Appreciate you.